Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. I also have another YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora where I talk about issues pertaining to Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and the subscriber mode has been enabled for the first 5 minutes. Meaning, if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you need to be a subscriber to the channel. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who've already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined us latest today, I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices, and those who watch for the clouds, even the haters. So, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So, therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So, as you can see by the thumbnail, the topic for tonight is what is Advent. So, what I will do in a few minutes, I will describe what is the meaning behind it and how many people choose to observe this time of the year. Now, before we get into the main topic, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. How quickly the year has gone. I mean, we are now in the month of December. And of course, in a little over 3 weeks, we will observe Christmas and we will observe New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is, this is only applies to some women who are single mothers. And some of these women have the habit of belittling and trashing men who choose not to date single mothers. Okay, questioning that maybe these men have issues with their own mothers and things of that nature. I find it very odd and very bizarre that some of these single mothers who have standards, and some of them is frankly unreasonable, such as being 6 feet tall, have a six pack, and have like at least a six-figure annual income, and usually more, plus not have any children, plus not having the desire to have their own children. I find it very bizarre indeed that some of these women who have these crazy and outlandish expectations of what they expect from men. However, they're not going to grant the same courtesy to these men. Okay, first of all, not everyone is able to deal with a single mother, and that's something we all have to deal with. And there are men who want to date single women without children because they want to create their own family. Okay. Now, it's one thing if you are a single mom and you have one child, you know, from a dude and it didn't work out for whatever reason. But when you have two, three, four, five children uh, from multiple baby daddies, uh, that that just cries out that you do not know how to pick properly, that cries out that you have not taken accountability. Because remember, you did not see fit to marry these guys, but yet you saw fit to open up your legs and let them impregnate you, okay? Because, like it or not, they control access to their bodies, they control access to sex, okay? So you mean to tell me that some of these single mothers who have like 4 or 5 kids from 2 or 3 baby daddies get upset because a dude has standards and a dude decides not to date single mothers? Just like these ladies have preferences, men have preferences. And so instead of spending your time on social media trashing men because they don't want to date single mothers who have multiple baby daddies, um, try to deal with the trauma that you have created. Okay. And try to learn from these experiences so that hopefully your daughters will not make the same mistakes you made. This is a thought. And I'm sure there's going to be some single moms that are going to get upset with me, whatever. I don't care. It is my channel. I'll say what's up on my mind. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is, first of all, a huge shout out to all my supporters. Okay. Um, it's hard to believe that I'm actually 5 subs away from 1K subs. Um, to be perfectly honest, I didn't think I would reach this goal in this year. I figure it'll probably be next year. But the fact of the matter is, I've gained, I think, 130 or 140 subs last month, which is a lot. Okay. But I recognize the fact that I receive a lot of love and a lot of support from my supporters, which I affectionately known call them the uncommon folk. Okay, and in fact, I might reach 1,000 subs this week. So what I plan to do is once I reach 1K subs, do a special live, just as a celebration regarding me reaching this milestone. But I am truly humbled by the amount of love and the amount of support that I have received. And of course, all the glory and all the honor goes to God Almighty, because He makes it possible for everything to happen. Um, and everything that does happen in a person's life is for a purpose and is for our well being. So it would be to our benefit to trust God and everything that we go through, and everything, not just during the good times, but the bad times as well. And of course, one thing I would definitely try to focus on is trying to increase the watch time. Okay, because while the goal was not to make money off of YouTube, it would be nice to make a little bit of money now and then. Okay, um, by ads or by having people making donations, things like that. So when I began this journey, it wasn't specifically to make money. It was to share my point of view and share what knowledge and wisdom that God has given me. That was the original purpose. So if I make a little bit of money along the way, it's just gravy. But I really appreciate all of you, because without you, I have no channel. And And that's something that I will never forget. Now the final thing that I um, want to talk about is that probably next week I will be talking about that why self deletion is not a solution. Okay, I have discussed this before, but it's a very important that we have the discussion. It's because self deletion, the thoughts of self deletion, is a form of mental illness that people go through, particularly now that we're in the season of holidays. Because while for many of us this is a happy time, this is a wonderful time, for some it's not. So I will be not only be talking about why um, people should not choose that option, but I will also share resources, uh, which which I would encourage anyone to use, particularly if they are experiencing thoughts of self deletion, or they know someone that's having those thoughts. Okay, and believe me, uh, it is an extreme option uh, for a temporary situation. And with that being said, we're going to go to the main topic. Now, before I continue, let me just state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and opine regarding the topic at hand, they may do so. Let me just state what I always state in every life. If I never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you count up in the backstage. Then make sure that no one tries to flash any pornographic images on this live, which will cause the people of you to take down the string. Once I see that you're not going to do that, then I'll let you on. Okay. And it is unfortunately that I do have to mention this, particularly in light of the fact that my previous live, there was a person that was in the backstage. The person chose not to cam up in the backstage and was not permitted access to the panel. Okay. So what we're going to do is, first, what is Advent? Advent is a Christian season of preparation for Christmas, which involves the 4 Sundays waiting for Christ's birth and his anticipated second coming. The season starts on the Sunday closest to November 30th and ends on December 24th, which is marked by spiritual reflection and often by lighting an Advent wreath. The wreath is usually should have 4 candles with one lit each Sunday, symbolizing hope, peace, joy, and love. And the fifth Christ candle is often called lit on Christmas Day. So that is what is the meaning of Advent. It is a time of the year, mainly in Catholicism and some of the um, mainline Protestant denomination. It is a time of preparation. It is a time of reflection. It is a time of self-examination. Okay, in order to prepare our hearts and minds for Christmas. Now, I will be doing a live at some point this month regarding Christmas and some of the traditions, and also some of the influences. Um, when I don't know, but I will be announcing that soon. So let me just give you some things to consider. Uh, it's a meaning. Advent comes from the Latin word for coming or arrival, and it signifies the anticipation of the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, it has a purpose. It is a time for spiritual reflection and preparation for Christmas, as well as a renewal of longing for the second coming of Christ. Now, as far as the timing, it begins on the Sunday nearest November the 30th, and it lasts until December the 24th. And actually, Advent began yesterday, November the 30th. Now, there are certain traditions, okay? One of them is Advent wreaths. These are circular arrangements of evergreen branches with 4 candles representing the 4 weeks of Advent. Okay, so now there are 4 candles. 3 of them are purple or violet color. One is pink. And usually the pink candle is lit on the third Sunday of Advent, which is time of joy and anticipating the arrival of Christmas. Okay. Now, 1 candle is lit every Sunday representing hope, peace, and love. Okay. So let's talk about, just give me a moment. All right, just give me a moment. Now, a lot of it has religious symbolism. And okay, now I already discussed what the meaning behind the Advent wreath. There's also a nativity scene. What is a display showing the nativity scene, which is a visual way to retell the story of Jesus' birth. So you have figures of Jesus, Mary, the baby Jesus. You have the 3 wise men known as the Magi. You also have animals. So this is like a visual display. And then there's a thing called a Jesse tree. This is a tree decorated ornaments representing the ancestors of Jesus based on the biblical lineage of Jesse, the father of King David. And then there's what's called a Christangle. This is a service where a candle is placed in an orange, decorated with red ribbon and sweet or dry fruits to symbolize Jesus as the light of the world. And then you have what's called antiphons. During the final week of Advent, these ancient verses from the prophets are read as a way to express longing for Christ's coming. Also, as part of the as part of the preparation um, for Christmas, um, in many Catholic parishes, they will have what's called a reconciliation service. In other words, it will be a time um, where the faithful could go to a priest and to confess their sins. Okay, as part of the preparation. Here in New York, I happen to belong to the Archdiocese of New York. So on January the 15th, they'll have penitential services in all Catholic parishes in the Archdiocese of New York. Okay, that is just, please, I'm sorry, just every now and then I have to check and see who's watching in Instagram, because unfortunately I tend to run with the mouth a little bit. Okay. Another thing that we use is it's called an advent calendar. Okay. Now these are used to count down the days of December, of which, okay, actually the days beginning the first day of Advent to Christmas, we say revealing a picture, a quote, or a small treat to encourage closer reflection of the season. Other than there may be Advent calendars. Beyond the Reef families may light a single candle each day to mark the passing of time towards Christmas. Also it's a time where they will decorate. People will decorate their homes. So what they will do is they'll put up a Christmas tree. They'll put up Christmas lights. Uh, Maybe they'll have like little Christmas decorations outside the door. Now, in some homes, they'll have elaborate light Christmas displays of light. Okay, which is beautiful. The only problem is your electric bill next month is going to take a huge hit because when you think about it, you're lighting all this lights and what have you for a period of perhaps 24 days. It's also it is also a time for prayer and devotions. Many people will pray or read devotional passages daily during Advent. Some churches hold special Advent masses or services. Okay, so let's take a look. Now, Advent is it's mainly Catholic. Okay, it's a time of the it's a time of the year which is for us. It's a time for preparation. Okay, it's a time of anticipation. It's okay for many of us. It is a time of self reflection. Okay. There are several times during the year where I'll choose to sit down and reflect on myself, reflect on how I'm doing, and see how I can draw closer to God, or where areas of my life where I need to address as far as those things which are not pleasing in God's sight. Let's see, just give me a And another thing to bear in mind, that those who attend Catholic services, a lot of the scripture is based focusing on preparation, preparation regarding not just um, preparation for to remember when Jesus came the first time, but also the bear in mind of his second coming. Okay, because we do believe that he is going to return. Uh, when we do not know. Now, with each, now as I say, the four main things of Advent are hope, peace, joy, and love, celebrated in the order of 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. Each theme focus on the spiritual preparation for Christ's birth by reflecting on these virtues, with hope representing anticipation of the Messiah. Father, these things, peace, joy, and cultivating in love. So in week one, which is where we are right now, the theme is hope. This week focus on the anticipation on the coming of the Messiah and looking forward to Christ's birth. And the first week of Advent began yesterday, November the 30th. The second week of Advent begins Sunday, December the 7th. And the theme for week 2 is peace. The second week is dedicated to the theme of peace, reflecting on the hope or peace that the birth of Jesus brings. Now, the third week of Advent, which begins on Sunday, December the 24th, the theme will be the joy. Okay. And the third week pivots towards the virtual joy, celebrating the good news of Christmas. Okay. So the third candle, it's pink. So what it's focusing on the joy that we will receive when Christmas arrives. And then the theme for the fourth week of Advent, which will arrive on December the 21st, which, by the way, is the first day of winter. Yes! It is a time, the theme is love. The final week focuses on love, the greatest of all virtues, and the love God has shown by sending his son. My apologies, is just that I am really looking forward to the first day of winter, and people will know that I love winter. I think it's my favorite. It is my favorite season of the year. Um, Considering we have a lot of great holidays and things of that nature, and maybe finally for a change, we will be blessed with an honest to goodness, nice cold winter. I know some of you are not happy because some of you don't like cold. And I get it, I appreciate it, but that's just me. So, so for the benefit of those who are just tuning in, we're talking about what is Advent and what's immediately behind Advent. Now, Advent, beginning of Advent, will start at different times of the year. It always starts like the Sunday before November the 30th. This year, Advent began yesterday. Okay. So let's just give me. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay. So Advent will end officially ends on December the 24th, which is Christmas Eve. Now, of course, during Advent, they will have religious services as well. Just give me a moment. Uh, Now, there are certain elements, okay, certain elements that has to do with Advent services. One of them, of course, I mentioned before, the Advent wreath, which is lit every Sunday. Also, there'll be practices in Scripture um, that focuses on the prophecies and the promise of Christ's birth. And of course, the music will reflect that. Okay. Let's see. Just give me a moment. Now, one thing I will encourage all of you to do, okay? Now I know everyone focusing on Christmas because it is the it is the one of the most important holidays of the year. Okay, and of course I understand that everyone observes Christmas differently. Okay, there are people that look at Christmas as more of a cultural thing. Um, there are people now they use Christmas as a time for family to get together, which is perfectly fine. Also, a time for eating and things like that. Time for fellowship and things like that, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, I enjoy being with family. I enjoy eating. I enjoy you know, the interaction with loved ones and things of that nature. But for me, the focus is not Santa Claus and his ain't reindeer. It is not gathering with family, that's important. Enjoying good food, that's fine. Okay. But the focus is for me is to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, as far as when he was born, that's irrelevant. I mean, we all know for the most part that Jesus was not born on December the 25th. I mean, for all we know, he could have been born the 4th of July. So for me, it is not the fact that he was born on December the 25th. The fact that he was born not only in my life, but in the lives of those who have um, acknowledged his lordship. That's the important part. And of course, for me, the highlight of the evening is attending Christmas Eve services. Okay. Because what it does, it helps me to focus on why we celebrate. It helps me to think, it brings to light the circumstances leading uh, to his birth. Okay. And when you read the biblical account, okay, um, this was a difficult time for Mary and Joseph. Okay, first of all, they went to Bethlehem and trying to find a place that he can stay for the night, and they were not able to find a place. They had to like spend the night in a stable with a bunch of smelly animals. And if you never been to a stable, one thing you notice that the animals are going to poo poo, and that means you're going to have a whole bunch of fecal matter, which means it's going to smell disgusting. But when you think about it, it also has a lot of meaning because in many people's lives, um, they have not allowed Jesus to enter their life and to be born in their hearts. And there are many reasons behind that. Some of it is that they don't know. Uh, some of them they have a erroneous concept of what Christianity is. Um, there might have been people that gone to a church, and instead of being welcomed, there was ostracized. They were ridiculed. Um, they were made to believe they did not belong. And we got to keep it 100. Sometimes, and I said sometimes, those of us who identify as Christians have given a poor representation of what God is and what Jesus is. Well, some people they've been rejected because they look different or they act different or 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 they was expecting perfection. Okay. The only one that's perfect is God Almighty. Okay. And truth be told, um, God is not expecting you to be perfect before you come to Him. God wants you to come to Him as you are, with all your limitations, faults, and things of that nature. God is looking what's in your heart. Okay. And unfortunately, at times we can forget that. And sometimes, let's keep it real, folks. At times, we as Christians, we have not always given the best example of Christ. We have been judgmental. We have been unkind. We have been cruel at times to people, particularly people who are hurting and they're trying to find um, answers to their life's questions. So instead of being received into a loving community of believers, they are entering communities where people are being judgmental, extremely judgmental, and forgetting that we are all flawed human beings. All of us have issues. All of us have trauma that we have to deal with. Okay, and sometimes we can be very we can act no better than the Pharisees of the New Testament. And sometimes we could be filled with a lot of self pride, thinking that we're better than everybody else because we don't sin to the same degree other people do. The Bible is very clear on that. God rejects the proud, but lifts up the humble. And when I mean humble, is I'm referring to people who know and recognize that they need God in their lives, that recognize that they're not perfect, recognize that they are hurt. God is asking people to come to them in 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 sincerity and in truth. And the whole purpose of this season of Advent is to prepare uh, for Christmas, but also to prepare for His second coming. So that's the whole meaning behind Advent. Okay. Um, I just wanted to share with you Advent. Not everyone is fully aware regarding this time of the year, and many people are not fully aware with some of the things that we do during the time of Advent. So it is a time of preparation. So speaking about preparation, tomorrow I will be discussing the topic regarding unforgiveness. Okay. Now, one of the problems that people have with the concept of forgiveness is to think that we're saying that what they did was okay. No, we're not saying that. And also, they are under the belief that we got to accept them and take them back like nothing happened. No. Forgiveness, all it means is that you are now allowing what the person said or did affect you. That's all it means. And no, forgiveness does not mean restoration. You can forgive a person and not have anything to do with the person again. Okay? Because that person does not respect your boundaries, that person does not respect who you are, that person is too toxic, and you got to be mindful of your inner peace. You got to be mindful of your mental well being, your emotional well being, and your spiritual well being. So that's the reason why we're going to be discussing about unforgiveness tomorrow. And we're also going to be discussing the consequences of not forgiving. Okay. And there are many. Okay. And depending to what degree that you have a spirit of unforgiveness, it could deny you eternity with God's presence. Okay. And I understand for some people this is a difficult concept. So I'm just gonna ask that those who are gonna be watching tomorrow or watch it on the playback, um, at least hear what I have to say before you make your assessment. No, I'm not saying that you have to be recon- that you have to have fellowship with this person. No. What I'm saying is that forgiveness means that you're letting go. And the reality is this: when you don't forgive someone, you're not doing anything against the person. Basically, what you're doing is you are affecting yourself. That's something that we all need to bear in mind. Okay. So before I wrap this up, I do hope that you found this little explanation regarding Advent to be beneficial and informative, particularly if you're not a Christian and you don't even know what the heck that we do, how we deal with Advent, how we observe it. So hopefully you have some you be blessed with the knowledge that I've given. So I'm gonna wrap this up, and of course the playback gang, do your own thing. You're more than welcome to leave whatever comments that you wish. All I ask people is let's be respectable because any offensive comments will be deleted. And bear in mind, this is my channel. I will discuss whatever I wish. So, with that being said, of course, I'm going to close the same way that I always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by their stupidity and mass insanity, and whatever we say and do, let us do for the glory of God. So, with that being said, thank you very much for your patience. Thank you very much for your time. Most likely you will have watched this in the playback. More than welcome to share if you find the content to be informative. So, with that being said, this has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron saying good night, take care, stay blessed, and peace.